what everybody, and particularly the Democrats who are bitching about Elon's email, continue to forget is that they did not care when this was happening en masse in our military and in the private sector because of Joe Biden's mandates for vaccines. They didn't care about all the people's lives being upside down. And they also never care when this happens in the private sector. And it's happening right now to a company that I think probably a lot of people here have supported over the years, Joann Fabrics, closing every store. 19,000 employees losing their jobs, no severance, no notice, no options. As Chad Felix Green pointed out, this is just real life and it happens to all of us.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there are people here listening that have been laid off from a job, or they just had regular. It's not even that you've been fired, but you don't get 9 months severance to figure out what you're going to do. So, I mean, cry me a freaking river.
I know.
I mean, and I'm so glad that somebody pointed this out. It is real life. That's real life in the real world. In the federal government world, things are different. And again, we're probably going to get emails. You're so mean to government workers. Okay.
Well, that's why we played the video yesterday of the woman who was a great example of a good federal worker, like somebody who came from the private sector, who understands what it means to be accountable in your job. And so too many people who start their careers in the public sector do not ever have that sense of accountability because they're never required to. And so now that
they've never worked in the real world.
Right. Exactly. So here's a great example of the exact kind of person that we're talking about. This is one of the women who let go from USAID. And I guess there were a bunch of USAID employees that tried to cause a huge commotion and block entryways or whatever. They were just doing their protest. And this woman talks about how normal it is to cry every day about her job loss. Here she is.
You guys go this way?
Open the doorway. Excuse me, everybody. On this side.
How did it feel when Murkowski threw you out?
Everybody move, please. Everybody keep
I'm
going.
not worried about me.
It's been an emotional roller coaster. I came to USAID intending on staying there for as long as I could. I really loved the work that we were doing. And now I don't know what to do. And I have cried every day. I think that that's normal. I have a 15-month-old at home and I'm looking at him and thinking, well, what's this country that we're now living in?
Oh my God, I can't. It's a country where, you know what? You're not owed anything. You have personal responsibility to take care of yourself and your son. So go do that. And shouldn't she be going and looking for another job rather than bitching and moaning about this one? You should be doing that. Hustle, lady. That's what all the rest of us do in the private sector. We hustle.
She doesn't need to do that because she's currently getting severance probably.
Right, for 9 months. Yeah, presumably. You're welcome. You're welcome for that. You can kind of chill out and bitch and moan a little bit for the next couple months. And then, yeah, exactly. Then learn to code.
That's right. I mean, it's just these people are exhausting. And the fact that the media keeps highlighting them is even more exhausting. Where were you when everybody was getting forced to get jabbed or lose their jobs?
Or just like hairdressers and people like that couldn't keep that's just one example, that couldn't keep their private sector companies open because the government's like, you got to shut down. All the people that lost. Right. You're non-essential. So you don't matter. You're a private sector business. You're an LLC or an S Corp out there. We're going to shut you down. And too bad, so sad. Did they get severance? That's hell to the no. They didn't get severance.
That's right.
When people are entrepreneurs like that, they have to do they have to hustle. So learn to hustle, lady.
I know. I mean, people like that are the reason that
Sufferable.
I need wine.
Right.
And you need wine too.
Yes.
And we have the best wine ever for you at republicanred.com. So this is a company that makes wine in the hope. The spirit of their creating this delicious wine is in the hopes that we can have polite political conversations, address the elephant in the room, and not be afraid to talk about hard things, even when people don't agree. And so that's the spirit of the company. I love that. I love that that's their goal. And of course, they want to make wines great again. These are California-made wines, and I love some of the ways that they describe their philosophy. So I just want to read you one thing that came in a flyer that they sent, which I just loved. They talked about saying, this is what they said. They said, quote, "We encourage free and open political discussions at the dinner table, whether we agree with each other or not. This is how Republican Red is making politics polite again. We acknowledge the unique shade of red in every Republican, from proudly red to quietly red, born red to newly red. Our wine brings all Republicans together one glass at a time. We know that the contents of a bottle are just as important as the cause behind it." And so I love being able to get wine from a company who shares my values. That's the best
Agreed.
part. And then the fact that it tastes yummy, I mean,
Yeah,
bonus.
it's good wine.
Yeah, and they also have champagne. They have white wines, red wines, sparkling wines. They've got all of it. And they've got different gift packages, and you can subscribe. So if you're a regular wine drinker, as you can subscribe and make sure that you always have your wine on hand. You can just go to republicanred.com. And then when you use code CHICKS, you will get $5 off and free shipping on whenever you get 4 or more bottles. So it's, again, republicanred.com, code CHICKS. Drink it. Yesterday, like we said earlier, we played a clip of a federal employee who was thrilled to get Elon's email and thrilled to be able to respond to it and brag about the accomplishments that she'd had the week before. These are who we need more of in the federal government. What we need less of is, unfortunately, what we do have a lot of in the government, and it's employees like this.
Bitch! Wait. Hold on, y'all. Let me get myself together. I'm about to crash the fuck out. So whereas other government agencies are really like standing up for their fucking employees and things, my agency decides to say, "Hey, the email is legitimate. Please send 5 bullet points of what you did." You know what I'm gonna send? I did my motherfucking job. That's it.
What
I
is
ain't
that?
shit else. Y'all are fucking crazy.
What is that, lady?
It shouldn't be hard to say what that job is.
Yeah, what is your MFN job? What is that? Just say what that is. God, these people. She should be the first one that's fired.
Honestly.
Bye. Yeah.
Yes. Good riddance. The CNN show, of course, hosted by Abby Phillips, which has Scott Jennings on it. She was trying to make the point that, listen, there are a lot of civil servants who are great, and they are. But she was also trying to make the point that none of them are not great. And that's where Scott Jennings begged to differ.
Many federal employees that are civil servants, meaning that they don't come in because of partisan politics. That's there to protect you as a conservative and Tara as a liberal.
I'm sorry. I think
it's there to protect both of you.
I hear your debating point. I think it is incredibly naive to believe that there are not civil service bureaucrats who would love nothing more than to thwart this president for 4 years and wait for a Democrat.
Then why are Republican senators worried about? Listen, 85% of federal workers work outside of Washington, D.C. Those are people who work at our national parks. Those are people who work on, the ag departments in farm bureau states. Those are people who are taking care of Medicaid and processing payments for people in red states like where Donald Trump lives. So we need to stop being so cavalier, Scott, about people and whether they're working or not and how come they're so upset about getting an email, because these are people's livelihoods.
Because some are being
have the
cavalier.
privilege of sitting here getting a 6-figure paycheck from CNN.
And I have to show up every day. And I have to show up and earn it. And I have to show up and earn it.
Public servants, and they do the same.
And I have to show up.
The fact that you assume that they don't is obnoxious and insulting to those people.
They're not showing up and earning it?
They're good servants.
Hold on.
Why are you assuming? But with all,
it's unreal. It's just the double standard too, and it just shows you how much liberals, they just love big daddy government. They just love it.
Imagine fighting this hard to not simply just say, here's what I did last week.
Yeah.
This is the dumbest hill to die on ever. This is almost as dumb as fighting for men to be in girls' sports.
It is. It's exactly. What is a woman? We can't tell you. We can't tell you what that is, but we're going to fight for this. We're fighting so hard for it. We're fighting so hard for an overblown, out of control bureaucratic machine of a government. It's like, wow. They hate America and what it was supposed to be. We fought a revolution over a 3% T tax. These people, and then they'll be like, it's a constitutional crisis. Really? Is it? Because look at how out of control the spending is. And they would never give a pass to a private company for doing this.
Right.
They'd be the first people in that little panel to say, oh my God, that CEO took from his or her employees, right? That CEO is so greedy. The government is greedy. The government is that greedy CEO who's been stealing from us for so many years, and they can't see it. Why can't they see it? It's so frustrating to me they can't see it.
I know. And Scott, I don't know how Scott does this night after night. I really don't. And it's not even just Abby Phillips' show, but he was also on Wolf Blitzer's show, who I completely forgot existed. And it was like another panel, and he can never be allowed to just make his point without getting interrupted constantly.
Right.
And this time he was like not having it. And I loved how he pushed back against this interrupting chick named Lulu. Here it is.
I don't think the voters are wanting a scalpel. I do think they're wanting larger implements like a sledgehammer or a chainsaw.
I think that's no longer true. I think that's no longer true, Scott. Honestly, you're seeing the polling, and you're seeing how unpopular.
And Donald Trump has a better than 50% approval rating. I have seen the polling.
How unpopular Elon Musk is, how unpopular Doge is, and beyond that, there is a real concern about the kinds of.
You know what I love about you, Lulu, is that you get to say what you want to say, and then you got to say what you think I ought to say. Why don't you just let me finish my point here? The point, Wolf, is this: the American people asked for a different direction, and what they did not ask for was a continuation of the status quo. What I think Musk and his efforts represent is a complete deviation from what most people would say has been the status quo when it comes to a government that seems to always get bigger, and we never really go in and root out waste, fraud, and abuse. Now,
he's absolutely correct.
I love that he was like, you know what I love about you? That you just constantly interrupt me.
Jane, you ignorant slut. I swear. I could never do that. I could never. Oh my God. He's a bigger person than I am. But I don't understand how they don't want change. They don't. Right. They just want it to stay the same. They want to continue to be taken advantage of. They want to continue to be in debt. If it were a personal budget, I would hope to God. It makes me wonder how their personal budgets are. You know, how these people actually deal with money. If they are also in debt, it's like, well, we're just going to buy this BMW, even though I can't afford it. Whatever. I'm a liberal. Woo!
Or worse, what if they're great at managing money and they don't have the same expectations of the government? Why don't they?
That is
it just doesn't make any sense.
Great point, Mock.